Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're about a minute past, and I think everyone's in now. So to introduce myself, my name is Will Nix. I'm a global evangelist for automation and management with Red Hat's management business unit.
I'm Rich Jerrido. I am one of the product managers for Satellite, the fun product manager for Satellite.
He's the fun one.
The fun one.
And so today we're going to talk about managing smarter. So smarter management with Red Hat Satellite and Insights for your platform management needs. Originally, Dell was supposed to co-present this session, and they had to back out at the last minute due to some legal reasons. So we're going to continue talking about platform management without them. Just like to draw attention to some other automation and management sessions here at Summit. 4:30, 5:15 today, how Walmart uses systems management. So that's a great session where we have Walmart come in, kind of like Dell was going to do for this one. And then we have a roadmap and strategy session tomorrow morning after the keynote. And then we also have some sessions on the 10th, as well as some labs on the 10th. So some of you might be signed up for those as well. And then finally, we also have a booth in the expo. So drop by, check out some of the demos. We have the latest and greatest satellite stuff being demoed, the latest Insights and Ansible Tower integrations being demoed as well as some swag down there. So come on down and see us. So we'll get started with an overview of the Red Hat management portfolio. Red Hat Insights. Who here is using Red Hat Insights? So a few, that's great. So Insights is a prescriptive analytics tool that helps you find and fix problems before they can cause downtime. So the gist of that is that you want to avoid unplanned downtime. You use Insights to do proactive troubleshooting and remediation. And then we integrate that with Red Hat Satellite, which helps you build out a better standard operating environment, a secure infrastructure. And then we use Red Hat Cloud Forms to help deliver services across your infrastructure, both in the cloud and in the traditional data center. And then we have Ansible Automation by Red Hat, where we integrate the automation technology into each of the other portfolio products, as well as scaling that out with Ansible Tower. So you can manage your infrastructure and run playbooks all across your environments, as well as doing role-based access control and things like that. So the goal here is to provide a more unified, a more cohesive management experience. And we're doing that by integrating all these products. And what you'll see from us today, what we'll talk about, what you'll see here at Summit this year is our path on the way to doing that, to make it more cohesive. And that's actually based on feedback from, I've seen many of you who I know, who I've met with, customer feedback from customers like yourselves. So one of the best things about the Red Hat Open Management portfolio is that we listen, and we want to continue making the products better. We made a lot of changes in Satellite. Rich has pushed through a lot of great customer feedback improvements and bug fixes. And we do the same thing for Insights. Most of the features that you'll see me talk about today were actually brought forth by customers like yourselves. So that's where we're headed. We want to keep making it more usable and faster. And the reason why is because we want to avoid complexity in our environments. So complexity introduces a lot of risk in our environments. And about 80% of problems now are no longer caused by hardware failure. It used to be that you'd lose a stick of RAM or a hard drive, or you might lose a processor. But now it's really more about, did you mess up a command, or did a config file get pulled in the wrong way? Is there some software issue that's going to cause downtime? 80% of the time, yes. And $336,000 an hour is the median cost for an hour of that downtime for a large app outage. Whereas we're also spending $15 million a year median cost for cybercrime deferrence, that's vulnerability scanning, remediation, bringing in security contractors to do pen testing and other work on our infrastructures to make sure that we're secure and stable. And then finally, 65% of customers that were surveyed by CompTIA, who's a leading training provider, said that they're not ready to manage next-generation infrastructure tools. So the goal is to reduce complexity in our environments by bringing all these tools together, by integrating them, making them simpler to use, making the workflows more efficient, and letting you do more with less, smarter. And the biggest way we're doing that right now is we're introducing operational analytics into the portfolio, as well as automation. So what operational analytics is going to give us is if we start here at descriptive analytics at the bottom of this stack, this is just log files. We've been doing this for 40, 50 years. Standard text application log files, right? Descriptive analytics. It tells us what happened when something goes wrong. Then we look at diagnostic analytics that tell us why did something happen. These are tools like Splunk or Elk, log collectors, things that aggregate data that you can sort through and find. And then we move up to predictive analytics, and this is kind of a gray area. There's a lot of software that does this, but I kind of call these dumb analytics because you still have to know what you're looking for. You get an analytic system, you have to program it and tell it what you want it to look for, and when it finds what it finds, you have to say what you want to do with that information. But if we look at prescriptive analytics, which is where Red Hat enters the picture along with Microsoft and VMware for their respective platforms, we look at what we can do about the problems that we find. And as the vendor, we can actually help prescribe what to do when we find that information. So this is a little bit of a different way of thinking about it, where we can look at where is a human decision coming into this. And we see that all the way up to the end of prescriptive analytics here, where now with automation technology and the analytics engine, we can actually pre-program a route to remediate problems that we find, whether they're security related, whether it's a bad configuration file that needs to be corrected. We have paths to be able to automate and more efficiently manage and securely manage our infrastructures. So we'll look at some of the capabilities that we're bringing into Satellite and Insights. So Insights is built on the last 15 years of working with customers like yourselves. Red Hat's been doing this for a long time. We're the open source leader. We want to make this information more scalable to you to be able to fix those problems before they occur. And Insights is one of the ways that we're doing it. We also want to make it really simple to fix it. So we can tell you about the problems, but like I mentioned those paths earlier, we have an automation path for, I think, 99% of the security issues that are coming out right now from the field, right? When a new security issue pops up, I could be standing here telling you about it right now, but someone at Red Hat is writing a rule that will help remediate that when it shows up in your dashboard. So you'll be able to see, oh, I have 5 systems with this problem. I really need to fix it. It's a critical vulnerability. And then the ability to do that inside of the rest of the management products. We're adding that capability to Satellite, an upcoming version of Satellite, which we'll kind of hit on here, where you're able to just, and you'll see this in some demos and other sessions, Insights finds the problem, Satellite fixes it. Hey? Oh, it'll ask you.
Yeah, you still have to.
Yeah, you still confirm
have to tell it.
There are actually, we have some very clever Red Hatters who have made it truly systematic, where it's really automatic. When Insights finds something, they've got playbooks written that actually go through and just, you don't even have to say it. It's self-healing. But that's not, that's just a skunkworks thing we're working on the back end. But it's cool you can do it.
It's good or bad depending on your point of view.
Right.
Right.
So one of the other major things here is I've hit on security a good bit, and I just want to throw this out there that Insights and Satellite are both going to help you get ahead of those key security risks that you're facing today. Satellite has Insights and OpenSCAP built into it. So you're able to get those remediations, apply them, make policies to monitor and enforce, and then build automations for playbooks that you can use to scale out to the rest of your infrastructure. And it's beyond CVEs, right? It's more than just a security vulnerability report. It could be something that comes out of a bug that is late breaking, that just pops up on your dashboard one day when you're looking at it in Insights, and you say, have we heard about this yet? No, we haven't got an email about it yet. It just came, the embargo was just lifted. Red Hat just published this. So this is up-to-the-date information from Red Hat. It's a way that we can curate and get the information out to you faster.
So one thing I do want to point out on the screen here, in this example, we're showing Heartbleed, right? And everyone always thinks about patching as being like, I need to install this package to address this CVE, right? Which is a good piece of information to have, but something that you really need to have is like, how badly am I exposed, right? If I have OpenSSL and it's a vulnerable version installed, so what? If I have a web server running that's using that vulnerable version, That's a totally different class of problem that I need to deal with, right? And traditional tools that focus on just scanning RPM versions don't give you that level of context that you need to be able to make those decisions. And those are the kind of things that Insights points out. So that's why on this example, you see, Heartbleed, it's actually shown in 3 different levels, because depending upon how that system's configured, the amount of risk to your organization is actually different.
Yeah, that's right. We can look at more diagnostic information from the systems that are being analyzed than those standard scanners. Oh, one other thing to bring up. So Kenna Security Group actually has one of those scanners themselves. And what they found is that within 2 months of a new vulnerability being released, they're already seeing customers getting hit with it out in the wild, right? And it takes up to 4, 5, 6 months for security teams to patch for those. And I know that to be true because I work with customers every day, and Rich does as well. We see this all the time. Even when Insights finds something, even when you're aware of a vulnerability that you haven't fixed it yet. Now, there are numerous reasons for that. But what we're trying to help here is propagate that information that we do have so that when you're ready to go into a maintenance mode, when you're ready to hit that maintenance window, you can fix it as efficiently as possible. Or you can automate that remediation and do it across the board much faster than you normally would be able to. So we talked about it being built into the tools that you're already using. I mentioned Satellite, CloudForms, and Tower. It's also part of the Red Hat customer portal. So if you're not using Satellite, Tower, or CloudForms, or Insights yet, you can start using it with the customer portal where you can manage those systems from a proactive and prescriptive remediation perspective. You can actually generate playbooks for use with Ansible Core for Ansible Playbook, so you don't have to have Tower to actually take advantage of those playbooks. You don't have to have Satellite to take advantage of it either. But if you do, it's going to be integrated, and the same features and functionality will make their way into those respective user interfaces. There's also an API available for custom integration. A lot of customers are using this. They have homegrown dashboards they've been using for 15 years. Simple API calls. The beauty of this as well is that Satellite has a great API. Tower has a great API. Using the APIs, you can integrate your own custom workflows, or you can use the workflows that we've integrated for you within the portfolio. Goal, do more with less. Why Insights? Quick takeaway is that it's actionable, real-time intelligence from Red Hat, giving you the latest up-to-date information. Continuous vulnerability alerts inside Satellite. Increased visibility to those security risks. And along with OpenSCAP in Satellite, you'll be able to kind of have a really great basis for making sure your security baselines for all systems you're either deploying or taking control of are covered. And then automated remediation. So that's why Insights. We'll talk about how it works really briefly. And then I'll show you a really quick demo before we jump into Satellite. So Insights being an analytics tool, we obviously analyze data. We get the data from a small Python script that runs on a system. And it runs by default once per day. So there's an analytics collection once per day. And it's collecting a very minimal amount of information. If you've ever called Red Hat support and they've asked for an SOS report, that can be anywhere from 10 to 200 to 400 megs of data. Insights averages about 95 to 100K of data. We're not grabbing log files. We're simply looking for patterns in the noise to help identify these risks. So it's typically just patterns, not grabbing log files, and it's a very small, compressed, securely encrypted upload back to Red Hat to be able to do the analysis. We identify the problems from that data, and then we help you prioritize what to fix first based on a number of different criteria. So that's not just the standard security score, right? It's not just this CVE came out, this CVS came out. It's really highly critical. Insights might say, look, this is a high security risk issue, but it's not a high systems risk issue. We saw Heartbleed earlier. Insights is going to prioritize the one that's listening on one of those ports or interfaces much higher than it is for one that's just found as an actively installed library with RPM, right? So that's the kind of stuff that we're helping prioritize. And then we help you resolve it by giving you concise information on how to do it. Before we had Ansible automation built into Insights, customers would just copy and paste. They'd put it into their shell scripts. They'd run it through remote execution in Satellite. They would run it with a Puppet module. So there's a lot of different ways to take the information that we're giving you and put it to actionable use in your environments. The architecture looks like this. It's simply like I just described. System has analytics data. Red Hat looks at it, says, here's what we found wrong, and displays that back to you very quickly.
You want to do demo before satellite or after? After. Okay, cool. So from the satellite perspective, so Insights is integrated into satellite. How many of you folks are satellite customers? I didn't say put your hands. Put it back up. That was extra. Somebody take a picture of that. I'm proud.
All right,
Thank you for your business. So satellites are on-premise tool for defining and managing your standardized operating environment. It gives you the ability to do your provisioning, your patch management, and I'll talk about how satellite fits into the Insight story. So the things that we always think about on the satellite side, again, is how quickly can you respond, right? So what Will was mentioning earlier around the areas of, well, it takes 100 to 120 days to address a vulnerability in most enterprises, right? And the bad guys exploit in many cases between 40 to 60. So we always talk about, like, how do we help you guys out with either the patch management or even the predictive analytics portions. So one of the big things that we've been working on, and we actually changed the way our teams are structured inside Red Hat to support this, is Satellite and Insights effectively have the same kind of use case, right? I've purchased a lot of Red Hat stuff, Red Hat infrastructure, Red Hat even application platforms, and I need a tool to help me optimize that environment, whether it's from a patching perspective or a security compliance perspective, and that's why the two tools have spent a lot of time working together on it. So from a perspective of, like, if I'm a satellite customer, why would I use Insights? Well, as most of the room has raised their hands and said, I'm a satellite customer, and for most of you guys, satellite server is probably one of the very few systems in your environment that can actually talk to the internet, correct? That's probably the generally true statement. Inside my satellite server, I generally synchronize my content, use that content to define my standard operating environment, and scale that out via satellite capsule servers or proxy servers if you're on satellite 5. So when we started putting the two products together, we're like, well, how do we tie those two together? How many folks in here use multiple organizations on their satellite server, right? You use them because you want to logically break up your system so that subsets of people can work on subsets of systems. So we wanted to tie Insights into that with satellite. So not only do you have the ability to use satellite like you've always used it, we're going to tie in that Insights capability, but it's going to be scoped to the same sets of permissions and logical arrangements that you have inside of satellite. Again, we effectively extend Insights into satellite so that if you're a satellite user, you're operating with Insights inside of satellite, right? You don't have to go to another UI to do it, okay? It's just all part of one workflow. The other thing is, if you're a satellite user, basically everything that you need to define, reconstruct, or manage a system is defined in satellite, right? That's kind of why you bought the darn thing. So the thing we started looking at was, okay, from an Insights perspective, what can we take out of Insights and bring into satellite? So again, if you want to really do prescriptive analytics, we have to have a means of telling you not only what is wrong with the system, but also how to fix it, and ideally give you automation to fix it. So one of the things that you'll see, it's upcoming in Satellite 6.4. We demo this tomorrow. Yeah, so we demo this tomorrow, is something we call Project Fifi, Project Find It, Fix It. And the idea is that if I'm a satellite user, I should be able to log into the satellite server, right, through any of my interfaces, just how I can see a vulnerability and say, this system's vulnerable to Heartbleed, and I can go into satellite and say, go apply this errata on these 10 systems. I should be able to do the exact same thing for anything that Insights finds that has Ansible rule support. So when you think about something like Insights will find your system has a particular stability issue because you forgot to set up swap. And that's something that happens to have an Ansible rule playbook that's associated with it. I should be able to, in a satellite UI, say, fix that Insights thing, right? And it should be a single unified workflow. So that's what we're talking about when we say, how do we make the Insights story better inside satellite? If you're a satellite user, you should be able to fix things that Insights finds using satellite's workflows, using satellite's logical groupings, and also using satellite's permissions, right? Because inside a satellite, you usually tie down your permissions really well. The other thing that we did was, how many of you folks here use satellite capsules? Ken, thank you for your business. The satellite capsule server is designed to extend the capabilities of the satellite server to a remote environment or to a logically different network. So from a remediation perspective, we did the same thing with Insights. We're like, well, wait a minute. In order for me to connect to that remote system, I can't connect to it directly from satellite because the satellite may not have direct IP connectivity to the system, but the capsule server does. So now when you go to remediate things in Satellite 6.4 with Red Hat Insights, we actually leverage the satellite capsule server in order to do that remediation through satellite using Ansible-based technology. So if you're a satellite customer, you'll have a really, really good experience with Insights. I think it's the best experience with Insights, but I am possibly biased. If you're a standalone portal customer, you have a lot of these same capabilities as well. So as I mentioned before, if you look at what the things that a satellite capsule server offers, if you're not using satellite capsules, I strongly implore you to look at them because they give you a lot of capabilities. They obviously allow you to proxy all of the Insights work. They give you the ability to mirror your content, all of your content, Red Hat content, non-Red Hat content, container content, Puppet content. You got arbitrary binary blobs that you need to splat onto a system. We can mirror those with satellite as well.
Rich, give an example of where a customer might want to actually deploy capsules.
Yeah, so who here has more than 1,000 systems? You're deploying capsules. Some left? Realistically, so the
hands that
was
said they're using them, so.
Well, that was my next one. If you have logically separate networks where you want to limit the number of systems that can communicate out of the network, DMZs are a very common example. I have 50 servers in a DMZ. I really only want to have one server communicating out of that network to another secured network. That's another use case of where you want to use the capsule servers. Obviously, if you can bring the content closer to the client, then you can provision against it, and you can do provisioning very quickly. My favorite use case that I have is that I have a customer, happens to be a cruise ship customer. They have cruise ships that are floating out in the ocean, taking people around, gambling, having fun. Have a capsule server on every ship, satellite server back at headquarters. And if they ever need to provision a system while the systems are out, or excuse me, while the ships are out at sea, they can do that over the WAN because they're not pushing all of Rel 7 over the WAN. It's already local with a capsule. So those are kind of the things that the capsule server brings. Does the vulnerability scanner with OpenSCAP, can tie you into identity services such as Red Hat's IDM. Remote execution, today it uses an SSH-based transport, and Satellite 6.4, remote execution transport, will also have the option of using Ansible. And then we have the ability to do IPMI, power on and power off. So if you need to spin up a physical server that's in a remote network that's actually powered off, we can actually talk to its DRAC or its ILO or its equivalent IPMI card to spin it up. All right, where's the clicker? All right. So if you look at, again, kind of side by side, what are the capabilities that we give and why we like to use the two together? So capabilities of satellite are on the left. The Insights capabilities are on the right. For a lot of folks, the packaging of packaging of smart management now includes both of these for most customers. So you do have the ability to acquire the two of them together and use them both together. All right, so this is back to you.
Sure. Cool. So just another quick note on that SKU update, right?
Yeah.
I mean, customers who haven't taken advantage of Insights before are finding now that, oh, as we just renewed this year, after March 1, we actually do have Insights. So you might have it if you don't already know. You might check with your account team and find out when your latest renewal was or when your upcoming renewal is. So that's a great way to get it, as well as doing an evaluation. If you don't have Insights yet and you have Satellite or any of the other management tools and you'd like to see how it works, see how to use it, we have different evaluations set up. You can do a self-led. We also have account team-led evaluations where your SA or your account team come in and maybe bring some of our teams in to help and talk to you to make sure that everything's in your environment is ready to go. We can do that as well. So really looking forward to seeing people try Insights out, give us feedback. Like I said, all these improvements that we've been talking about, the capabilities of Insights are continuously expanding. It's all based on customer feedback. So it's just another way that we're trying to make your lives easier and help the rest of our customers as well. So this is what it looks like. It's a 30-day eval. It's self-led. You can get a longer one with your account team. It's in the form of a POC, right? Where you need to try it on we say more than 50 systems, because to get any real impact from it, if you put it in a lab on 3 boxes, you're not going to see anything, right? They're not doing any work. You're probably not paying much attention to them. But if you have 50 to 100 systems in a development environment, a pre-prod, that's a great place to actually try it out. Because if prod mirrors pre-prod, then you know you're going to have some problems in prod too. But obviously, most customers do deploy to production for the added benefit of that real-time monitoring and risk assessment.